Atiya here, and I want to talk to you today about how it feels to do a protest and the courage it takes to participate in a protest. And I made a previous video about how it felt to create a protest and run a protest and facilitate a protest in your neighborhood, surrounded by people you know and surrounded by a lot of people who are not supportive of what you believe in. So I already know that takes courage. And it's so funny because I was thinking the other day, like, I remember I was so upset because I felt like out of all the people I know and out of all the people I had reached out to, the people that reached out to me and were like, Atiya, that whole year I've been doing protests and everybody was like, Atiya, oh my God, you had to bring me to a protest. Oh my God, like, yes, I want to do a protest with you. Let me know when the next protest is, girl. Like, all these different people were telling me, hit them up, please, let them know. Okay, so don't gotta tell me twice. And normally protest is something I kind of like to do by myself because I feel like that's a part of me that not a lot of people get to see. Like, a lot of people don't get to see me being super passionate and super focused about something that I really, really love. So it kind of makes me feel a little vulnerable almost. So a lot of people don't come to protest with me because of that reason. So when I did my own protest and I hit up everybody that was telling me that they wanted to do protest with me, when it came down to the day of the protest, I was like, where they at though? Where they at though? Like, where y'all at? And I was talking to my mom about it, and she was like, you know, you can't go off on people because they're making commitments that they can't fulfill. And she was like, you know, how many commitments have you made that you kind of wanted to do, but you just didn't physically feel like you were capable of it? And I started thinking about it, and I'm like, to me, a girl who grew up ready to fight for what was right, I was just instilled with a certain type of confidence, and I was instilled with a certain type of, not even compassion, but courage. Because you can be compassionate from home, but a certain type of courage. And I didn't realize that it takes a lot of courage to not only participate, but just to get up and leave the house and go do something new. So yeah, I had to get that off my chest because I felt like I was harboring all these feelings for people who said they were going to come to my protest and support me and help me out and didn't come. I also want to give a big shout outs though to people who did come. Like, y'all, like, shout outs to you. I had so many of my friends come up to me afterwards and say like, wow, it felt good for me to like stand up and know that I'm making a change. Or I spoke to this one person today and I really feel like I swayed their views on going to the circus. Or other people would just get so encouraged because the way people portray protests in the media is like picket signs and blowhorns and chants and all that stuff. And it can be that, but there are also things called peaceful protests, and that's what I was having, where you can get your point across in a civil way without having to black on people. So, and that's something I learned actually, because I kind of had the misconception. Like when I tell people I'm working with PETA, they're like,
"Oh, are you throwing paint on coats?"
That's their idea of PETA. I never got that. Like, maybe, and it's like young people too. It's not just older people. It's young people too. Like,
oh, did you throw paint?
I'm just sitting there like, no, I didn't. I remember the first protest I went to was against a circus in Long Island, and they were mistreating the elephants. And I remember I walked past the circus. It was in a mall's parking lot. The circus was in a mall's parking lot, and they had these elephants. Literally, their arms and legs, or their feet and their hands were chained. They were chained, and I could hear like the shackles, and then there was like a little bit of hay on the ground, but it was a hot day, and they were sitting on concrete with like a little bit of a tent over them. And this guy was over in the corner like smoking a cigarette, watching them. Like, come on. So I had gone to the protest, and we couldn't stand on the property, so we had to stand like the divider. And I remember later that day, like they had signs. It was like, honk if you're against elephants in the circus, or honk if you're against captivity, all this stuff. And then my dad had come to take pictures of me. And I guess somehow that led to them inviting him to join us and hold up signs. So he ended up coming by the protest and holding up signs. He's like, how did I get here? But he enjoyed it. And I guess it's really when you just decide to get out your comfort zone, what's the worst that can happen? Like, for real, what's the worst that can happen? So my point is that if you can find something that you're passionate in, if I can motivate you to be passionate in something, if I can motivate you to be passionate for people for beings who don't even have voices. I think that's why I'm really passionate about animals, to be honest. is that I know how it feels to not have a voice and to be voiceless. And I know how it feels to not be heard, and it's a horrible feeling. I remember I used to tell people, like, I feel invisible at times, because I would say things and no one would hear me, and I would say it loud and no one would hear me, and it would just hurt. It hurts you. So I think that also is the reason why I feel so passionate when it comes to animals, because they have a voice but no one's hearing it. No one's trying to hear it. So if I can use my voice to help another being out, then I really did fulfill my purpose on this earth.